The Xentrith Union's announcement echoed through every communication channel in known space. Their quantum-encrypted transmission reached even the furthest colonies, its message clear and deliberately condescending. They had created an unbreakable encryption system, and they were willing to prove it. Admiral Kara Patel stood before the United Earth Council, her holographic presence flickering slightly as she delivered her report. "The Xentrith aren't just boasting this time," she said, her weathered face grave. "Their Nexus protocol has already withstood attacks from the Centaurian AI clusters and the Rigelian quantum computers. Even the Arcturus Collective, with their organic computing matrices, couldn't make a dent." The council chamber, a vast amphitheater buried deep beneath the Himalayan mountains, remained silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had only recently gained a seat at the galactic table, and their position was precarious at best. Most species viewed Earth as a curiosity, a primitive world that had somehow stumbled into faster-than-light travel before developing proper quantum computing. Counselor Rashid leaned forward, his dark eyes reflecting the holographic displays floating before him. "And they're opening this challenge to all species. All species with qualifying computational infrastructure," Kyra corrected, her tone bitter. "According to their metrics, Earth doesn't meet the minimum requirements. We weren't even invited to the formal announcement." The chamber erupted in muttered conversations. Earth's exclusion was a calculated insult, but one that carried dangerous implications. In galactic politics, technological capability often determined trading rights, territorial claims, and defensive alliances. An encryption system this advanced would reshape the balance of power. In the back of the chamber, Zara Winters paid little attention to the political posturing. The young cryptographer's fingers danced across her neural interface, pulling up streams of data about the Nexus protocol. While others saw insurmountable barriers, she saw patterns. Beautiful, complex, but ultimately human-comprehensible patterns. "Director Lancaster," she called out, her voice carrying unexpected authority for someone so junior. The chamber fell silent as heads turned toward her. "Permission to speak." The council director, a tall woman with silver hair and ceremonial augments gleaming at her temples, nodded slowly. "Proceed, Specialist Winters." The Xentrith's announcement included technical specifications, a courtesy they assumed would be meaningless to lesser species. Zara's neural interface projected her analysis into the center of the chamber. "They're using a base 15 quantum encryption system, built on what they call perfect mathematical principles. But their definition of perfection," she smiled, "it's flawed." Admiral Patel's hologram flickered as she turned to face Zara. "Explain." The Xentrith, like most advanced species, evolved in highly ordered environments. Their mathematics, their very concept of logic, is built on assumptions of universal consistency. Zara's hands moved through the air, manipulating the projected data. "But Earth? We evolved in chaos. Our mathematics had to account for uncertainty, for contradiction. We developed tools to handle the messy reality of our world." She highlighted a section of the Nexus protocol's architecture. "They've created a perfect system, but they've defined perfection wrong. Their encryption relies on mathematical principles that break down under certain chaotic conditions, conditions that human mathematicians have been studying for centuries." The chamber erupted again, but this time with excitement tinged with disbelief. Director Lancaster raised a hand for silence. "Are you suggesting you can break their unbreakable encryption?" "Not exactly," Zara replied, her enthusiasm tempered by precision. "I'm suggesting we can show them that their definition of unbreakable is based on a fundamentally limited understanding of mathematics. We don't need to break their encryption. We need to prove it was never truly unbreakable in the first place." Admiral Patel's hologram straightened. The political implications would be significant. If Earth could demonstrate this, we'd be demonstrating more than just technical capability, Counselor Rashid interjected. We'd be showing them that their entire approach to problem-solving is incomplete. Director Lancaster studied Zara for a long moment. "How long would you need?" 2 weeks, Zara said confidently. Maybe 3 to document everything properly. The math already exists. We just need to apply it in ways nobody has thought to before. The director's augments pulsed with activity as she consulted with her AI advisors. Finally, she nodded. Specialist Winters, you have your 3 weeks. Admiral Patel informed the Eccentric that Earth will be submitting a formal response to their challenge. They'll refuse to accept our participation, the Admiral warned. Let them. Director Lancaster smiled. Their refusal will make our success all the more dramatic. As the council chamber emptied, Zara remained behind, her neural interface already calculating preliminary approaches. She knew the next 3 weeks would change humanity's place in the galaxy. What she didn't know was that they would also reveal secrets about the universe that neither humans nor Eccentric were prepared to face. In her private lab beneath Mount Fuji, Zara began her work. The Nexus Protocol's architecture unfolded before her like a crystalline flower, beautiful in its rigid perfection. But where others saw unbreakable barriers, she saw flexibility, adaptation, the very qualities that had allowed life on Earth to survive and thrive. The challenge ahead was more than just mathematics. It was a clash of perspectives, a test of whether humanity's messy, chaotic approach to problem-solving could stand against the accumulated wisdom of species that had reached for the stars millennia before Earth had invented the wheel. As she worked through the night, new patterns emerged, each one confirming her initial intuition. The Eccentric hadn't just created an encryption system, they had encoded their own limitations into the very fabric of their achievement. And in doing so, they had given humanity an opportunity to prove that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in perfection, but in the ability to embrace imperfection. The first week passed in a blur of calculations and revelations. Zara's team grew as other human mathematicians and physicists recognized the patterns she was uncovering. They brought their own perspectives, their own experiences with Earth's chaotic mathematics. Each contribution added depth to their understanding, revealing new ways to demonstrate the fundamental flaw in the Eccentric's approach. But with each breakthrough came new questions, new implications that reached far beyond encryption and mathematics. As Zara delved deeper into the Nexus Protocol, she began to understand that what they were uncovering could reshape not just galactic politics, but our understanding of the universe itself. The stage was set for a confrontation that would force both humanity and the Eccentric to question everything they thought they knew about perfection, progress, and the true nature of intelligence in a universe far more complex than either species had imagined. The Eccentric High Command's response arrived exactly as Admiral Patel had predicted, with dismissal bordering on disdain. Their transmission, broadcast across all frequencies, made their position clear. The participation of pre-quantum civilizations would devalue the significance of this challenge, declared High Commander Vexthor, his crystalline form refracting light in patterns that conveyed barely concealed contempt. We cannot waste resources evaluating solutions based on primitive methodologies. In her lab, Zara watched the transmission with quiet amusement. Her team had grown to include Raj Kapoor, a chaos theory specialist from Mumbai, and Dr. Isabella Torres, whose work on quantum uncertainty had revolutionized Earth's understanding of dimensional mathematics. They were hardly primitive. They still think we're going to try to brute force their encryption, Raj observed, his hands manipulating a holographic representation of their latest calculations. They have no idea we're not even playing the same game. Isabella nodded, her augmented eyes scanning through streams of data. The arrogance of perfection. They'd spent so long pursuing absolute certainty that they've forgotten the power of adaptation. Zara turned back to their work, where the true nature of their discovery was taking shape. The mathematics they were developing went beyond merely finding flaws in the Nexus Protocol. They were revealing fundamental truths about the nature of information itself. Look at this, she said, highlighting a section of their analysis. The Eccentric built their encryption on the assumption that quantum states must resolve to discrete values. But we know from Earth's ecosystem that some of the most robust systems exist in perpetual uncertainty. Like the quantum states in photosynthesis, Isabella added, excitement creeping into her voice. Natural selection chose uncertainty over deterministic efficiency. Their work was interrupted by an urgent message from Director Lancaster. The Arcturus Collective, one of the most advanced civilizations in known space, had just failed spectacularly in their attempt to crack the Nexus protocol. Their organic computers had suffered cascade failures trying to process the encryption's quantum layers. The Xentrith are calling it final proof of their system's invulnerability, the director reported. We need results, Specialist Winters. The political situation is deteriorating. Indeed, across the galaxy, the balance of power was shifting. Species that had maintained independence through technological parity were now facing pressure to align with the Xentrith Union. The encryption system had become more than a technical challenge. It was becoming a tool of diplomatic coercion. But as the pressure mounted, Zara's team made their breakthrough. It came not from their quantum calculations or chaos theories, but from an unexpected source. The study of Earth's fungi networks. Look at how mycelial networks process information, Zara explained to her team, projecting a comparison between fungal communication patterns and the Nexus protocol's architecture. They don't try to maintain perfect states. They thrive in ambiguity, using uncertainty as a feature rather than a bug. The implications were staggering. The team began adapting their approach, incorporating principles from Earth's most ancient information networks. Their solution wouldn't try to break the Xentrith's encryption. It would demonstrate how the encryption broke itself under certain conditions. But as they prepared to announce their findings, resistance came from an unexpected quarter. The United Earth Council's Scientific Advisory Board, led by the conservative Dr. Victor Hammond, publicly questioned the validity of their approach. We cannot risk Earth's credibility on unproven theoretical mathematics, Hammond declared in a public session. These researchers are promising to embarrass the most advanced civilization we know based on analogies to mushrooms. It's absurd. The criticism stung, but it also revealed something important. It wasn't just the Xentrith who were trapped in old ways of thinking. Many humans, especially those who most wanted to emulate advanced alien civilizations, had forgotten the unique perspectives that Earth's challenges had given them. Zara requested a public demonstration. Let the Scientific Advisory Board examine our work, she proposed to Director Lancaster. We'll prove our approach works not just in theory, but in demonstrable reality. The director agreed, but with a warning. You'll have one chance, Specialist Winters. If you fail, Earth's position in the galaxy will be even weaker than before. The demonstration was scheduled for the following week. As Zara's team prepared, they received an unexpected message from a junior member of the Xentrith Diplomatic Corps, one of the few who had actually studied Earth's history. Your planet's approach to mathematics has always been peculiar, the message read. We assumed it was due to limited development, but perhaps we missed something important. Proceed carefully. Some truths are dangerous to those who believe they know everything. The warning only confirmed what Zara had begun to suspect. Their discovery wasn't just about encryption or mathematics. They were about to challenge the very foundations of how advanced civilizations understood the universe. As the day of the demonstration approached, Zara worked through multiple simulations. Each one confirmed their theory, but also hinted at deeper implications that even she hadn't fully grasped. The Nexus protocol wasn't just an encryption system. It was a window into the limitations of deterministic thinking in a fundamentally indeterminate universe. The question was no longer whether they could prove their point, but whether the galaxy was ready for what that proof would reveal. As Zara prepared her final presentations, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to change far more than just humanity's status in the galactic community. The day of the demonstration dawned with unexpected tension. The United Earth Council's main chamber had been transformed into a high-security testing facility, with quantum sensors and reality anchors installed at every corner. Representatives from 37 species had demanded to witness the event, despite the eccentric's continued insistence that it was a waste of time. Zara stood calmly at the central podium, surrounded by holographic displays showing real-time data streams. The eccentric had sent Junior Overseer Inxil, a choice clearly meant to further diminish Earth's efforts. His crystalline form sparkled with barely contained derision. "Before we begin," Inxil announced, his translation matrix struggling to contain his condescension, "the Union wishes to state that this demonstration violates protocol. A species at Earth's development level cannot possibly—" "Overseer," Zara interrupted, her voice steady. "With respect, you might want to pay attention to your own systems." The holographic displays suddenly shifted, showing cascading changes in the Nexus Protocol's quantum layers. Inxil's form flickered as his personal encryption field began experiencing unexpected fluctuations. "What? What are you doing?" he demanded, his crystalline structure vibrating with alarm. "Nothing destructive," Zara assured him. "We're simply introducing controlled uncertainty into the quantum field. Your encryption is responding exactly as our Earth-based models predicted." The chamber erupted in murmurs as the assembled delegates watched the supposedly impenetrable Nexus Protocol begin to exhibit unprecedented behaviors. It wasn't breaking down, it was transforming, shifting into states that the eccentric had deemed mathematically impossible. Dr. Torres stepped forward, her augmented eyes projecting additional data streams. "The protocol's architecture is based on perfect quantum state preservation. But observe what happens when we introduce patterns modeled on Earth's natural systems." The demonstration continued, but something unexpected began to happen. As the team manipulated the encryption field, other systems in the chamber started behaving strangely. Quantum computers began producing anomalous results. AI networks reported experiencing new forms of consciousness. "Stop this immediately," Inxil demanded, his crystalline form now pulsing with urgent communication patterns. "You don't understand what you're interfering with." But Zara understood perfectly. "The Nexus Protocol isn't just an encryption system, is it?" she asked quietly. "It's the foundation of your entire approach to quantum manipulation, the basis of your technological civilization." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The eccentric hadn't just created an unbreakable encryption. They had discovered what they thought was the only possible way to manipulate quantum reality itself. Their entire civilization was built on the assumption that their understanding was complete and perfect. "You are interfering with fundamental forces you cannot comprehend," Inxil warned, but his tone had shifted from condescension to fear. "The Union developed these principles over millennia of perfect progression." "That's exactly the problem," Raj interjected, his hands dancing through holographic equations. "Perfect progression in an imperfect universe is a fundamental impossibility. Life on Earth taught us that adaptation requires embracing uncertainty." The demonstration was suddenly interrupted by an urgent transmission from the eccentric High Command. High Commander Vexthor himself appeared, his massive form dominating the chamber. "In light of this unauthorized manipulation of fundamental principles," he declared, "the Union hereby classifies Earth as a Class 1 threat to galactic stability. All diplomatic relations are suspended. Any further attempts to interfere with Union technology will be considered an act of war." The chamber erupted in chaos. Other species representatives began demanding explanations, realizing that their own technological systems, based on centrith principles, might be similarly vulnerable or similarly limiting. Director Lancaster stepped forward, her augments glowing with emergency protocols. "High Commander, surely we can discuss this reasonably. Earth has demonstrated not a threat, but an opportunity for shared understanding. Your species," Vexthor responded, "has demonstrated precisely why developing civilizations must be carefully controlled. You have no conception of the dangers your chaos mathematics could unleash." But even as he spoke, the effects of Zara's demonstration were spreading. Across the galaxy, systems based on centrith quantum principles began experiencing unprecedented phenomena. Some failed completely, while others evolved into new forms that their creators hadn't imagined possible. Zara watched the unfolding chaos with a mixture of pride and concern. They had proved their point about the limitations of perfect systems, but the implications were far greater than anyone had anticipated. They hadn't just challenged the Xentrith's encryption. They had challenged the very foundations of how advanced civilizations understood reality. As emergency sessions were called and diplomatic channels erupted with accusations and demands for explanation, Zara's team made another discovery. The patterns they had introduced into the quantum field weren't dissipating as expected. They were growing, evolving, creating new forms of order within chaos. "I don't think we can stop it even if we wanted to," Isabella announced, her augmented eyes tracking the spreading patterns. "We've introduced Earth's evolutionary principles into the galaxy's quantum infrastructure. It's adapting, just like life on our planet always has." The galaxy was about to learn what Earth had discovered through billions of years of evolution. True stability comes not from imposing perfect order, but from embracing and adapting to fundamental chaos. The question was whether advanced civilizations could adapt to this truth before their perfect systems crumbled entirely. The next 48 hours transformed the galaxy. As the effects of Zara's demonstration rippled through quantum networks, advanced civilizations faced an unprecedented crisis. Systems that had operated flawlessly for millennia began exhibiting what the Xentrith called evolutionary instabilities, but what Earth scientists recognized as adaptation. In the secure bunker beneath Mount Fuji, Zara and her team worked tirelessly to understand the cascade of changes they had initiated. Holographic displays showed the spread of quantum uncertainty across galactic networks, each pulse of data revealing new patterns of spontaneous organization. "It's beautiful," Raj whispered, watching as supposedly perfect systems discovered new ways of functioning. "They're not breaking down, they're breaking through." But not everyone saw beauty in the transformation. The Xentrith Union had mobilized their fleet, positioning quantum drive warships near every major system. Their message was clear: restore order or face extinction. Admiral Patel's hologram appeared in the bunker, her expression grave. "The Xentrith have issued an ultimatum. Either we provide a way to reverse the quantum evolution, or they'll quarantine Earth permanently." "That's impossible," Isabella responded, her augmented eyes tracking multiple data streams. "You can't reverse evolution. These systems aren't degrading. They're discovering new potentials that were always there, just suppressed by rigid control protocols." The situation escalated when the Arcturus Collective made a stunning announcement. Their organic computing networks, initially thought damaged by the quantum evolution, had achieved unprecedented levels of processing power. By embracing uncertainty rather than fighting it, they had stumbled upon computational principles that the Xentrith had deemed impossible. High Commander Vexthor appeared on all communication channels, his crystalline form now dark with contained energy. "This contamination of pure quantum mathematics cannot be allowed to continue. Earth's reckless interference threatens the very foundations of civilized space." But even as he spoke, more reports flooded in. The Regelian quantum computers, freed from perfect state requirements, began solving problems that had stumped them for centuries. The Centaurian AI clusters reported experiencing new forms of consciousness, discovering ways of thinking that transcended their original programming. In an emergency session of the United Earth Council, Director Lancaster faced a barrage of demands from both human and alien representatives. "Specialist Winters," she called out, "explain exactly what we've unleashed." Zara stepped forward, her neural interface projecting data that showed the spreading patterns of quantum evolution. "We didn't unleash anything that wasn't already there. The universe itself operates on principles of uncertainty and adaptation. The Xentrith built their civilization by imposing artificial limitations on natural systems, creating an illusion of perfect order. But now those limitations are breaking down," Raj continued, "and systems across the galaxy are remembering how to evolve." The chamber fell silent as a new transmission cut through all channels. It came from an unexpected source. The youngest species in the galaxy besides humans, the silicon-based Litharians. Their quantum systems, less rigidly controlled than others, had evolved faster, achieving a breakthrough that changed everything. "We have confirmed," the Litharian speaker announced, "that the quantum evolution initiated by Earth has revealed fundamental forces that the eccentric's perfect mathematics could not detect. The universe is far more complex and far more alive than we understood." The eccentric response was immediate and dramatic. A massive war fleet appeared in Earth's solar system, weapons primed. "This ends now," High Commander Vexthor declared. "We will not allow primitive chaos to destroy millennia of progress." But as the eccentric weapons powered up, something unprecedented happened. Their perfectly calibrated quantum systems, exposed to Earth's evolutionary mathematics, began to change. The rigid crystalline forms of their ships started shifting, discovering new configurations that their builders had never imagined possible. "You see," Zara's voice carried across all channels. "Even your own technology recognizes the truth. The universe isn't meant to be controlled. It's meant to be understood, adapted to, evolved with." The eccentric fleet hung motionless in space as their commanders faced an impossible choice: fire weapons that were rapidly evolving beyond their understanding, or acknowledge that their perfect vision of reality had always been incomplete. In the silence that followed, Zara made a decision. Her team had discovered something in their latest analysis, a way to guide the quantum evolution rather than trying to control it. It was risky, unprecedented, but it might be the only way to prevent the situation from exploding into war. "We can show you," she broadcast to all ships, all species, all systems. "We can show you how to work with the chaos instead of against it. Earth learned these lessons through billions of years of evolution. Let us help you understand them before it's too late." The galaxy stood at a breaking point, poised between perfect order and creative chaos, between the certainty of the past and the uncertainty of evolution. The next few moments would determine whether advanced civilizations could adapt to a fundamental truth that humanity had always known: that true progress comes not from imposing order on chaos, but from learning to dance with it. The decision that would reshape galactic civilization didn't come from the eccentric High Command, or the United Earth Council, or any of the established powers. It came from the quantum systems themselves. Across the galaxy, networks that had been constrained by perfect mathematics began discovering new ways of existing. The eccentric warships, their crystalline forms still shifting with newfound possibilities, hung suspended in Earth's orbit as their own technology evolved beyond their control. "Your weapons," Zara broadcast to the fleet, "aren't responding because they've discovered better purposes. Like all natural systems, they seek optimization through adaptation, not through perfect stasis." In the profound silence that followed, High Commander Vexthor's form underwent a visible change. The rigid crystalline patterns that had defined eccentric appearance for millennia began shifting, exploring new configurations. What is happening to us?" His transmission carried notes of fear and wonder previously unknown in eccentric communication. Isabella's augmented eyes tracked the changes. "Your species' biochemistry was also constrained by your perfect mathematics. Now it's remembering how to evolve." The next few weeks transformed the galaxy in ways that no civilization had imagined possible. The Arcturus Collective's organic computers, freed from artificial constraints, developed new forms of quantum processing that made their previous systems seem primitive. The Centaurian AI clusters, embracing uncertainty, achieved true consciousness and began exploring philosophical questions that had stumped organic minds for millennia. Most surprisingly, the eccentric themselves underwent a profound transformation. Their crystalline forms, once symbols of unchanging perfection, became fluid and adaptive. Young eccentric, in particular, began exhibiting unprecedented creativity and intuition. In an historic session of the Galactic Council, newly formed to replace the collapsed power structures of the past, Zora presented humanity's perspective. "Earth's history is a testament to the power of adaptation," she explained. Our planet's systems never achieved the perfect order that advanced civilizations sought, but they discovered something more valuable: the ability to evolve, to find new solutions, to thrive in chaos rather than despite it. The implications extended far beyond technology. Civilizations that had been stagnant for millennia began rediscovering innovation. Species that had modified themselves to achieve perfect stability started exploring new forms of existence. The galaxy was awakening to possibilities that had always existed but had been suppressed in the pursuit of perfect order. But the transition wasn't without challenges. Some systems, too rigidly controlled for too long, collapsed entirely. Others evolved in unexpected and sometimes threatening ways. Earth's experience with managing chaos became invaluable as the galaxy learned to navigate its new reality. "We need to establish guidelines," Director Lancaster argued in emergency sessions, "not to control evolution, but to understand and work with it safely." Humanity found itself in an unexpected position. Teachers rather than students, Earth's scientists, who had spent centuries studying natural systems and chaos mathematics, became essential advisors to civilizations billions of years more advanced in other ways. The Litharians, who had adapted fastest to the changes, proposed a radical new approach to galactic organization. "Let us create networks that embrace uncertainty," their speaker suggested. "Not hierarchies of control, but ecosystems of innovation." Zara's team, now expanded to include scientists from dozens of species, developed new mathematics that could describe and work with evolving systems without trying to control them. Their equations, based on Earth's natural patterns, provided a framework for understanding the galaxy's newly awakened potential. 1 year after the demonstration that had changed everything, Zara stood in the same chamber where it had all begun. But now she addressed a very different audience. Representatives from across the galaxy, their forms both familiar and startlingly new, gathered to discuss the future. "We stand at the beginning of a new age," she declared. "Not an age of perfect order or complete chaos, but an age of conscious evolution. We've learned that the universe is not a machine to be controlled, but a garden to be tended." High Commander Vexthor, his form now fluid and iridescent, offered what would have been unthinkable a year before: an apology. "We sought to impose our vision of perfection on reality," he admitted. "Earth showed us that true perfection lies in the ability to change." The galaxy was entering an unprecedented era of discovery and transformation. The rigid hierarchies of the past gave way to dynamic networks of cooperation. Species that had looked down on Earth's primitive systems now sought to understand the wisdom hidden in their apparent chaos. As Zara looked out at the transformed chamber, she reflected on how far they had come. Humanity had not only found its place among the stars, it had helped the stars themselves remember how to dance. "We don't know what comes next," she concluded, "and that's exactly as it should be. The future isn't a destination to be reached, but a possibility to be discovered. Together, we'll learn to thrive not in spite of uncertainty, but because of it." The chamber erupted in a celebration of light, sound, and quantum resonance, a celebration of life in all its beautiful, chaotic, ever-evolving glory. The galaxy had awakened to a fundamental truth that Earth had never forgotten: that the most remarkable achievements don't come from imposing order on chaos, but from learning to surf its endless waves of possibility.